All right, what is going on, everybody? This is Wakeman, and I am joined by Toxic. What's going on, Toxic?
Oh, nothing much. Pretty excited to do PRs here. My second time doing PRs. Well, no, this is technically my first time because last season we didn't do PRs. It was just team reviews.
That
So
is true.
I'm pretty pumped. I'm pretty excited to be here.
Yes, sir. Well, we are just gonna jump right in. This is for the Finizen division in season 4 of the Great Lakes Draft League. Just some notes before we begin. These are a collection. We averaged scores between Charles or C-Rad, Toxic, and myself, three of the mod team of GLDL. Basically, we each submitted independent rankings, 1 through 14, and then I averaged all the placements, and that is how we ended up with the scores we ended up with. You'll notice there are three two-way ties at first, fifth, and seventh. Um, I wish we could have avoided that, but that's just a flaw with our with the way we do this because we only have three
Hey,
rankings.
that just shows you how close in power the teams are.
I do think the teams in this division overall are very good. Yeah. Um, so we also do not factor in coach playstyle into our rankings. This is purely looking at the team. We might note if we think that a player is going to do really well with a team. Like if I draft a hyper offense team, you might say, well, Wakeman will really like this team, or Wakeman will probably do well with this team. But that doesn't influence our ranking at all. So that being said, I'm going to start off with the first one. This is number 14, Lock on Stark's team. So this team is hard to evaluate to me. It's very unusual. It kind of lacks a lot of the traditional type cores and kind of speed control options and stuff that draft teams kind of traditionally have. That's not always a bad thing, but I do think that this team is lacking in a couple of areas that I think are very crucial. I think the main issue, or one of the main issues I see, is that the damage output is it's tough because Samurott and Zoroark and Shenpao do great damage. Decidueye does okay damage. Houndstone Last Respects is kind of a thing, but you don't really have sand to make it go fast. So I feel like you're going to be running fluffy stuff more, which you can still use Last Respects. I just think that not going first, it's a lot worse. Um, so I'm a little bit concerned about the damage output on this team. The other thing is there just isn't coverage for some types. Like like I think that a strong like steel type would actually be kind of hard for this team to deal with. Like, yes, you have Toadscruel, yes, you have Decidueye, but Decidueye is its typing is trash, and its attack like its damage output is fine, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is this team also just doesn't have a lot of cohesion to me. Like, I don't really know like what is how are you setting up this belly bolt, right? Like your trick room setters are like Toadscruel and Zoroark, I think might get trick room. It
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
doesn't.
Toadscruel does get Trick Room.
It does,
Zoroark
yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah. So like there's that and it's like okay, Clodsire, maybe you're setting it up with Clodsire, but like then how are you getting trick room up? It's just weird to me. I don't really get a lot of the pieces here. What do you think, Toxic?
This team is very weird. Like you said, it's not your conventional draft team. And like obviously, being conventional doesn't automatically make you bad. But in this case, well not bad necessarily, but like it's not that good compared to the rest of the teams. Like you said, I'm pretty sure the main speed control option that stands out to me here is Icy Wind Chanpao. But if Icy Wind Chanpao is like your best speed control option, then there's a problem because Chanpao wants to run wants to run like at least 3 attacks per game. I'm not a Chanpao user, but I know that. And well, I guess there's Icy Wind Zoroark that does exist. Uh, This team just doesn't have your usual modes. Like no tailwind, and your trick room set is like Toad Scroll, which is like fine, but you don't have a trick room mode. I will say a cool thing I see on this team is like potential setup with a Shed Tail, but Cyclozar is always awesome. And Zoroark and Hisui Zoroark with a four times effective mon, four times super effective mon, like Chien-Pao is actually really good synergy. So I vibe with that. But outside of that, this team is I'm not the biggest fan of it personally. It just doesn't have that much.
I agree. Yeah, I do like the Chen Pao Zoroark thing. Like, you always have to watch out for clicking close combat into it or whatever fighting move. Like, that's cool. But yeah, if you're okay to move on, I'm good to move on.
Yeah, let's keep on moving.
All right, you want to start with this one? It's
Alright, this is Tiny Gambit King's team. Palafin, Cleavor, Tinkaton, Moltres, Chestnut, Skuntank, Bronzor, Kilowattrel, Garchomp, Ditto, Wook Trio. So right off the bat, something I really like about this team, just like looking at it from face value, the damage output is insane. And while it's like second to last, I think the damage output on this team is probably one of the highest in the division. I mean, everybody knows about the hero here, Palafin, aka Justin Tang. Uh, this thing's a monster with really good priority. I've seen Cleavor KO Mons from like not very effective with sharpness, boosted X scissors or stone axes. Tinkaton with Gigaton is strong, Moltres is strong, Kilo has decent damage output, and Garchomp is insanely strong. So right off the bat, it's pretty strong, but it's also got a lot of good tools. It's got Tailwind Moltres, it's got Tailwind Kilowattrel, it's got Mold Breaker Fake Out, it's got Trick Room by Bronzor. Doesn't really have a clear Trick Room mode. I guess Cleavor, what is 85 speed? No, that can't be running in Trick Room. But yeah, I'm assuming this team just wants to stop Trick Room more than anything, which is probably my main thing here. Like this team, well, obviously Mo Breaker Fake Out is amazing Trick Room denial, but with the introduction of Covert Cloak and like Terra Ghost, that can be played around pretty easily. Like I fear if this team cannot stop Trick Room, then it's just gonna fall under the pressure. I mean, crumble under the pressure rather. What do you think, Wake?
yeah. So I guess I get to be the mean one on this team. Um, I do agree. I think this team is really trick room soft. I don't think the Bronzor is enough to like stop anyone from setting trick room on you. Um, I think a major issue I see with this team is the damage output is really skewed physically, and I it's not the worst, right? Because Moltres is strong, but Moltres is also like its typing is terrible. It's pretty fragile just because of its typing. Even if its bulk stats are fine. It's just not the most consistent special attacker because of that. And Kilowattrel does have competitive, so that is nice. But I do think in general, Will-O-Wisp into this team just looks super free. Um, and I also think that there's a couple really big. It's weird because if you look at the type chart, there's no red. Like, there's no overall weaknesses. But I do think that strong rock moves and strong ice moves into this team look really free. Like, rock is hitting Cleavor, Moltres, Kilowattrel. But then ice, even more so, you're hitting um, Chestnut and Kilowattrel and Garchomp, and your ice switch-ins aren't the best. Like Tinkaton is good, but
Tinkaton is probably like the best one that can counter that combo.
yeah, I think in general Tinkaton is a great like glue piece here to counter a lot of the team's weaknesses. I just think that the overall Trick Room softness, as well as um, I'm also not sure about the versatility of the team either. Like, you have strong modes like Kilowattrel, Cleavor, Kilowattrel, Garchomp is great. Tinkaton Palafin is pretty cool. But other than that, it's like I don't know how many like really strong lead type things this team does. I could be wrong, and that's just a kind of a surface level thing without seeing Gambit having played this at all. Well, I did see him play it, but I'm trying not to let that influence my rankings because we made the rankings before we saw week one. Um, but yeah, those are my overall thoughts. I do think that just the damage output is good. I do wish there was maybe one more consistent special attacker. Like I think honestly, the Cleavor could get replaced with another tier two special attacker. Um, I as crazy. I mean, obviously it's his mascot pick, and he's not going to do that, and I don't blame him. But I do think like that would possibly be a move I would be making if I was trying to make this team a little stronger. Maybe a slow special attacker too to because your fast mode here is great. Like Kilowatt Roll, Garchomp alone is like a good fast mode, so you don't need that Cleavor really. I don't think. But again, it's his mascot, so I understand. You got anything else to say on this one, Toxic?
I will say, while these mons do, well, while none of these mons don't really, or outside of Tinkaton maybe, don't have like any really inherent versatility. I think a lot of the strong mons like Palafin, Moltres, I mean technically Cleavor, they're just strong offensive pieces that have utility options. Like Palafin has Haze, Moltres has Tailwind. I mean obviously Kilowattro's there, but I think I think the versatility thing might not be an issue. But I think I agree with everything else you said, honestly.
Awesome. Well, that being said, we'll move on to number 12. This is Radial's team, and I will start this one. All right. So, um, this team has a couple things I think are really, really, really strong. I think that your special offense, especially your spread damage, is phenomenal here. You have Camerupt, Eruption, Typhlosion, Eruption, Toxtricity, Overdrive, very strong on the spread move front. And then good you have good like sun, kind of a pseudo sun mode here with Murkrow setting sun for Lilligant and Walking Wake, and then obviously Camerupt and Typhlosion take advantage of the sun by getting their eruptions boosted. I and I also think that like in general the speed tiers here are fine. They could be better, like but Prankster Tailwind existing means that like 110 being your fastest is probably perfectly fine. Um, I do think that this is another one. This has the opposite problem where I think the damage output here is pretty heavily skewed towards the special side. Um, but unlike the other team, you don't have a great answer to like Snarl or anything. So that is maybe a little bit of a concern. And overall, I just think that like it's maybe a little over reliant on Sun. Like I'm not sure how I feel taking four Sun abusers. Like they don't have to abuse Sun, but they kind of want to abuse Sun. At least, definitely Lilligant and definitely Walking Away. Camerupt and Typhlosion are fine without it, but they still on this comp seem like they're kind of wanting it. And I'm not sure how I feel about your only Sunsetter being manual weather for that kind of thing when you have that many. Um, but yeah, that being said, I will pass it to Toxic.
Uh, so I am a little biased because I played this team week one, and I literally just played it like a few days ago, and I know how it feels prepping against this team. And I will say, I think I might have underrated it in my initial power rankings. I don't know. I don't remember where I placed it. But I think the pressure this team could put on lead is actually insane. I mean, Murkrow could pretty much lead next to Walking Wake, Lilligant, Zoroark disguised as whatever. Murkrow can lead next to Toxtricity. Toxtricity can click Overdrive or something. Well, Overdrive, yeah, Overdrive next to Tailwind, Double Speed, Sun next to Walking Wick, Special Attack or Speed Boost, Slug next to Lilligant. Like I think, and like you can click Sun next to Typhlosion, or even give it the Tailwind boost. I think this team is very good, and I might have underrated in my initial rankings, but I will say I do agree. I think like I think something like Snarl is really free into this team, and I also think that if Murkrow just gets completely invalidated and can't do its job like set Sun or Tailwind, like this team wants it to, I could see it just like crumbling to the pressure because this format's very strong, and I feel like if you don't have like a second plan, if your main plan gets denied, this team is just kind of done for. Uh, it also doesn't really have a super clear. Well, it has Camerupt, but your Trick Room setter is Espeon, which doesn't really care for Trick Room. But it's a pretty good Trick Room setter with Magic Bounce, so I can't complain.
Except it's
That's kind
frail
of
as shit.
all. Yeah, it's also extremely frail. So like, I mean, it's a really strong team. A lot of good lead game, kind of horrible to flowchart against. But outside of that, I mean, a lot of special output with less physical output, and a pretty weak trick room mode. If I'm being real, that's kind of all.
Yeah, I didn't really touch on the trick room mode. I do think the trick room mode is a little bit rough. Yeah, like your slowest thing being 40 is not the worst, but it's like when your trick room setter is Espeon and then your next fastest thing is 75. That's a little sus to me. And then I also like I agree with your assertion about the lead pressure on this team. However, I'm kind of thinking about it and I'm like, okay, like Zoroark adds a lot. I assume part of what you're talking about is not only like Murkrow next to whatever Sun Abuser, but like Zoroark being in there adds a lot of mind games too. My
Yeah,
thing is
it
like
does.
my thing is like if I'm worried about Zoroark, I'm just gonna click Snarl turn one into this team, and it's like,
Yeah, it all
what do
just
they
comes
do
back to
about it?
Snarl, bro.
Yeah, because then
It all
you're
just comes back to Snarl.
that's what I'm saying. You know, that's not perfect, right? Because like they could lead Murkrow Lilligant, and that you're not really doing anything to that. But Snarl in general is just really good because you only have your physical offense here is Cloth, Low Kicks, Vigoroth, and Lilligant. Lilligant's great, but the other three
Cloth isn't a Pokemon. Yeah.
real. I will go on record as saying I would rather have Spidops on a comp than Cloth. I said it.
That's a hard decision, bro. You can't make me choose between garbage and garbage. I
I'm making you choose between utility and middling rock slide user.
You know
It's
what? I'll
not a hard
take that.
decision.
Imagine getting outclassed by Lycanroc Midnight.
True. Anyway, that's all I have on this one. If you're good, Toxic, we can move on.
Oh yeah, that's it.
All right, you want to start this one?
Hold on. Yeah. This one is Cosmic Montana Metagross because I don't think we've been saying team names. I completely forgot
Oh yeah.
about those. Oh well. Urshifu Rapid, Corviknight, Slowbro, Greninja, Thwackey, Dogspun, Crocorock, Dragapult, Rotom Heat, Avalugg, Oinkologne. So normally when I see a team like this, I wouldn't really like rank it super low. But as weird as this sounds, this just isn't the gin for this team. Now that didn't come into play when I ranked it, but I think when I looked at the team, the first thing I thought was like this team would have been crazy back in Gen 8. But now it's just like I don't know. Because well, first of all, the speed tiers on this team are a tad bit weird. I mean, okay. The bottom speed tiers are fine. 28, 30, 65, whatever, 80, 95, 96. There's like a massive gap between Greninja's 122 and 97. There is nothing to bridge the gap between that. Now, generally, that wouldn't be a problem, but 97 is significantly worse now. Thanks to not only like booster speed with all the paradoxes, but just the abundance of tailwind and stuff. Like being at least base 100 is more important than ever, and even then, base 100 isn't even fast anymore. If I'm being real, and like I would this wouldn't be a problem for me if Corviknight weren't the tailwind setter, because the mons that would like tailwind on this team, like Rotom Heat, Thwacky, yeah, Thwacky, Darkspun. Well, maybe not Darkspun, but Thwacky and Rotom Heat. Corviknight doesn't outspeed those, and like the only way you could is like to lower their speed and to raise Corviknight's speed and like run Jolly or something. That doesn't feel good at all. On top of that, I mean, your Trick Room mode is fine. Slowbro and Avalugg. I'm not the biggest Slowbro Galar fan, but I know it can set Trick Room. It's got pretty good bulk. It's fine. Your Trick Room mode is fine. I'm just worried about the speed control there. But I will say, I also think the special output from this team is kinda mid. I mean, okay, you got Rotom Heat there. It's pretty strong. I've used it before. Well, I'm using it right now in two different leagues. It's very powerful. But when Rotom is your strongest special attacker, there's a bit of a problem, bro. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I mean, Slowbro's got good coverage, and Greninja's decently powerful, but none of those hit calcs at all. I'm telling you, neither of those will hit calcs, and sometimes Rotor won't hit calcs either. So I'm concerned about the special output. But outside of all those problems, because I don't think I've listed a single good thing so far, this team has very good physical output from Urshifu and Dragapult. I mean, everybody knows about Pult. Very fast Mon, pretty strong, can run support sets. Setting screens for this team actually seems pretty good, and like breaking swipe is good and stuff. Urshifu Rapid is a top 5 Mon. I don't want to hear it. I don't. I hope I see no other opinions. Urshifu, at least at least one of the Urshifus are top 5. And if I had to choose Urshifu Rapid, but yeah, that's mostly it. I guess you got like two water types, which kind of sucks, and they're both weak to electric and fairy. Yeah, you got like a quite a few fairy weaknesses. Oh no, Wake, it's your turn. I've said
All
enough.
right. So I think the strength of this team is like overall, like he just got a lot of stats. Like this, the average base stat total here is 494, which is pretty high. And then, especially considering that you have an NFE, like if you which can boost its effective base stat total with Eviolite, so you're looking at a pretty high like amount of just raw stats, which is always nice. And I also think that the value that Kyle got out of the tiers is generally really good. Like tier 4 Doxbun, tier 3 Greninja, tier 2 Corviknight, like Urshifu and Dragapult as your tier 1s. Like I think those are all Rotom Heat in tier 2. Like I think they're all very very good value picks. Except I don't love the Krokorok, but tier 5 was pretty weak this season, so it's an intimidator. You know, what else do you need, I guess? Um, I'm not super sold on the Trick Room mode here. It's usable, but Avalugg is a low tier, and it's a very kind of matchup specific Mon. So there could be matchups where it goes off, but I think generally the Trick Room mode here is a little weak. Um, I think that I wish, I kind of wish you had a different, I kind of wish there was a different Tailwind setter here. Um,
Yeah,
I don't
something
think
faster than Rotom Heat.
you mean Corviknight, but yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Something faster than Rotom Heat to set
Oh,
Tailwind.
I got you. I thought you meant that was his Tailwind setter, and I was like, oh
No,
no.
I mean like something that likes Tailwind. Um,
Yeah, I
Tailwind
got you.
Citrus will probably be faster. Yeah.
Or even faster than Urshifu, like that would be nice. Because you have a weird speed gap between 122 and 97, which isn't like the worst. It's not inherently bad, but that could make things awkward. Um,
It could be fixed by getting a faster Tailwind setter.
which, granted, I don't know how many of those are left, so you might
Oh
not.
yeah, I can't even I can't even roast them. I
Yeah.
was struggling for one.
But yeah, again, I mean, I'll echo what you said. I think that the physical output here is really really strong, but the special output is not so great. I do think it's nice that you're at least not super weak to Intimidate here, because Dragapult doesn't get intimidated, Avalugg doesn't get intimidated. Um, Cor-
Intimidate's still free, but well, no, because mirror armor.
yeah, Mirror Armor, and Urshifu can ignore it with crits. So I mean, you're not really honestly getting that much out of intimidating this team, even though it is really physical. I would say like, you know, a lot of teams will probably bring Will-O-Wisp into this team, but Intimidate isn't super crazy here. So I will say that, but I think that overall probably sums up what I have to say. Let's move on here. If you're good with that, Toxic.
Actually, I'm not good with that, but let's go to number 10 anyway.
Okay. Number 10 is Yasha's team. This is a double horse team, and I love it.
Got the
Um,
horses in the back, bro. This is number one, guys.
he's got
It's
horses
one.
in the
It's one.
back and in the
It's
front.
1.0. Not. It's 1.0, not 1.0. Okay, it's number one.
It's number 10. So, I already prepped against this team. I played in week one. Um, so I have a little bit of insight of this team after looking at it really closely. So I think this team has two major issues. The Trick Room mode here is nuts. And the amount of protect the king pieces you have for Glastrier is insane. He has the Friend Guard, Vivillon, with Rage Powder and Sleep Powder to protect Glastrier. He has Slow King with Chilly Reception to safely pivot Glastrier in with a defense boost from the Hail, which virtually makes it unkillable on the physical side. Like, you're not doing damage to it. Um, and I think that's really strong. I think the Glastrier is amazing here. There's a couple things, though, that I'm not super convinced on. I think the two main I started to touch on the two major weaknesses. I think the one major weakness is that weirdly enough, I don't like the fast mode here is kind of not that good. Um like it feels weird to say to a team with Spectre. Um but like
The
I
speed
think
tiers aren't that good, dude.
it's weird, right? Because he has a spread of 150 to 30, but the issue is you have a 40-point speed gap between 90 and 130, and so I would say 130 is about the benchmark where like I would consider this mon does not need speed control, right? I mean every mon likes speed control, right? But like at 130 it's like you can probably use this mon and it doesn't like require speed control, right? Spectrier and Electrode don't really require speed control here. Everything else kind of does. And your speed control on the fast end is not great. You have Vivillon Tailwind and Bombardier Tailwind. They both die to literally everything, and especially Vivillon's typing is abysmal. So it's not neither of those are consistent Tailwind setters. And I think that's the major issue here is like if you stop Trick Room against this team, it's just really hard for it to get going. And like, you know, you have a couple options. Like Glastrier with the right setup can still just kill things without Trick Room, right? Like it really wants Trick Room, but you don't need Trick Room. He almost snowballed me without Trick Room with Glastrier, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
that thing was on
possible.
the brink multiple times.
Yeah, he was like one turn away both games from snowballing me with that. So it's definitely like, and you do have. It is very easy to get Trick Room up with this team, right? Vivillon, Friend Guard with Slow King. I wish there was a Fake Out user here, but in general, Vivillon Slow King is going to be very, very hard to keep from setting Trick Room, um, because of Friend Guard, and you could put Covert Cloak on something or Sash on something, and you can't taunt Slow King. So I think that is a really consistent way to set Trick Room, and you have Arcanine to cycle Intimidates again to support your Glastrier if you want. Weirdly enough, I'm not super convinced on the Azu here. Um,
Ooh, I never
like
heard that from you.
right, I'm a huge Azu believer normally. I just don't. I think it could be something else here. Like I think if it was like maybe another fast offensive mon in the 100-ish speed tier area, maybe. Because you are using a lot of points on that Azu, and it is nice that it has priority, right? Because priority just helps when you don't have speed control. But and I do think that like friend guard rage powder with belly drum is going to be consistent enough. I'm just not sure that that's the most valuable thing when you're almost always preferring to set Trick Room so Glastrier can pop off. But I know I talked a while on that. I'll let you take it, Toxic.
Um, my main issue, like you said, is the massive gap between 130 and 90. That's a massive yikes. And not similar. Oh my god. Similar to Cosmikile's Corviknight there, that Vivillon just isn't good enough. I mean, 89 is decently fast. I'm pretty
Just to
sure.
clarify, it not good enough at setting Tailwind.
Oh yeah. Not good enough at setting Tailwind. I mean, it just doesn't bridge the good. It doesn't bridge the gap to make it like a really good, legitimate fast mode. And I think that's probably part of the reason why you doubt Ozzy on this team a bit, because outside of like the somewhat mid Tailwind setter, that's faster than Azu. I'll give you that. Your Tailwind is faster than the Mon that likes it. But if it had like a faster tailwind sitter like Kilowattrel, I know it's taken, but like just spitting ideas right now, like something fast that could sit tailwind, then I think the fast mode could be way more legitimate here. Um, but outside of that, I mean, I think this team is pretty solid overall. I mean, it's got a good balance of physical and special output between Spectrier, Arcanine, Azu, and Glacier. Kind of leans physical now that I mention it, but yeah, the special output outside of Spectrier isn't great. When I think about it, is there not a single special attack? I guess Slowking has 100 special
Slow
attack.
King's alright, yeah. I think the other thing too is you talked about the Azu under Tailwind. I also think Arcanine really wants to have Tailwind, and I also just again I'm just not sure um, that Vivillon can support that or can get it up consistently enough. Um, but yeah, I mean I think we covered most of what my thoughts were. Um, you get to move on.
Sure.
All right, I'll let you take number 9.
All right, Hungry Hungry Hippo, my favorite game. Um, he's got Ursaluna, Bronzong, Mabosstiff, Serena, Toxicroak, Quillfish, Swalot, Moltres, Gudra, Electrox, Basculin. So right off the bat, there's a bear on my screen. We like over here. We like to call Ursaluna the cocaine bear. Um, it's truly a powerhouse. This thing, it's got like how it's like 145 attack, right? 140.
Yep,
It's got
140.
140 attack. A whopping 140 attack. And that along with like base whatever, it's like over base 120, I think. Headlong rush. That's extremely strong, especially with the guts boost. So right off the bat, first pick, Hippo's offense is looking really good. But then next he takes Moltres Galler, which I'll admit isn't as strong as Ursaluna right off the bat. But once if you position Moltres correctly with a good Terra or something, or even without that, just click Nasty Plot next to like a fake out user, which is really good by the way. Y'all should use that. Um, that Moltres Galler can really get moving, especially if you start getting flinches with Fiery Wrath, which that move is extremely unfair. Spread Dark type move that can flinch. That's basically like Rock Slide, but it can't miss, right? I mean, I don't think that's the worst comparison at all.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, well, yeah, and Moltres also has some pretty good utility with like Snarl and Tailwind. So like that established that like starts a pretty good fast mode. Well, actually, not really. We'll get to that later. Ursaluna and Bronzong is an amazing trick room mode. You can spam Earthquake next to it, and Bronzong is just generally a broken Pokemon. I'm not sure I need to tell y'all that. Bronzong has been popping off in the Pokemon community. as of recent, thanks to a certain somebody who's been using it. Uh, Bronzong is just a monster. And that establishes just a pretty good trigger mode there. I guess one of my main concerns with this team is just its fast mode. I mean, like, you could
There's
set
no fast mode.
Tailwind. Yeah, it's not really. Well, you don't have a. I didn't even notice this. He doesn't have a single mono for base 100. That's kind of sad. Um, yeah, he doesn't have a single mon or for base 100. That's pretty bad, especially in a like. Okay, I'm pretty sure we've already established at this point that base 100 already isn't even that fast anymore. Let's be real. Base 100 is kind of mid now, but they don't even have a mon that hits that single benchmark. So in reality, if you aren't setting Tailwind with Moltres Galar, which is pretty possible with Serena, but things are gonna outspeed that Moltres naturally anyway. If Moltres gets one shot and like just absolutely bodied, this team really struggles. And like now I'm giving this team a second look. I probably overrated it essentially. Not essentially. Initially, I think I overrated this team a bit cuz it doesn't have a fast mode, bro. It has no fast mode. Its fake out isn't even fast. Um outside of like a Moltres Tailwind, your speed control is probably Icy Wind Quillfish, I guess, or whatever. I mean, like if this team isn't setting Trick Room and balling out with Ursaluna, I'm I'm actually a little nervous on what this team wants to do. Not nervous, but like I'm concerned. What does this team want to do once like Moltres is gone or Bronzong is gone? I think the team is pretty much doomed. I mean, I guess Ursaluna's really bulky, so like maybe it could tank some more attacks or something. I mean, that's not super great. Uh, there's a lot of repeat typings, a lot of repeat weaknesses. I've even touched on Gudra. Gudra's alright here, but it just adds more to the fairy weakness and the psychic weakness.
But he's
I don't
got
know.
3 poison types.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Okay,
And
sorry.
uh,
Finish what you were saying.
no, no, it's your turn. I've said
Okay,
enough.
so this team was ranked very differently between the three of us. I believe the ranks it got were 13, 9, and 4.
I
So we definitely had differing opinions. So I think that the rough part about this team is two things. One that Toxic definitely pointed out that touched on was, man, the speed tiers here are trash. Like, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. Um, and for being a trick room team, like 33 as your slowest is fine, but like you kind of want to hit that 30 mark. I feel like if you're running tail or trick room, and so there's a lot of teams that are going to be able to underspeed this. Granted, are you going to be able to do anything about Ursaluna? Maybe not, right? And the top core of like Ursaluna and Bronzong is phenomenal. But and then I'm just like, man, dude, like 3 poison types. Why are they here? I get that Serena helps you get Trick Room up, like that's cool. Um, like you're not. I just think the immediacy of this team is almost non-existent. Um, like Moltres doesn't do damage without setup. Like 100 special attack, spread damage on its best move. Like you're just not doing that much damage. And yes, Fiery Wrath is broken. Like flinching with 100% accuracy, that's broken. But it's like, again, you kind of need to set up. And Ursaluna's very strong out the gate. Like, yeah, waiting for the guts boost is great. You don't need to at all. But then I'm like, well, okay, like you need to set Trick Room for that, and like, cause Ursaluna can work under Tailwind. Like we've seen Marowak under Tailwind, we've seen Iron Hands under Tailwind. Same, like around that same speed tier, it can work. The problem is your Tailwind setter's not fast. Like base 90 is not that fast for a Tailwind setter.
and on top of that, Moltres doesn't even really want to run Tailwind because it wants to run Nasty Plot with Fiery Wrath and Air Slash. So
Yeah, I mean, I think on this team it can run Tailwind for sure, but it's like, yeah,
But
it's
that's
definitely
because it's the only Tailwind
right.
setter.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's just gonna struggle, and like Gudra doesn't do that much damage. Like I think outside of Ursaluna, which again very very strong, your best immediate damage dealer is like Basculin, which I mean Basculin does a lot of damage, but like it's kind of rough, you know. And Basculin's also your fastest thing, which is also kind of rough. Because Basculin,
Man,
take it from me, Basculin is not a mon that could come to every matchup, and so it's like you're gonna functionally have base 90 as your fastest a lot of weeks because Basculin just can't come every week. Um, like, do I think this team, if it gets Trick Room up, can just sweep? Absolutely. Do I think this team has the resources to get Trick Room up every single week to the point that they can always pop off? I am skeptical. I guess is my main concern with this. But that's about all I have on this one. You got anything else, Toxic?
I I need y'all to understand. I'll admit I'll put myself out there. I ranked this team number 4. I didn't realize the speed tier problem until I looked right here. Heartbreaking news.
I mean, again, like it has very strong pieces, right? Like the Ursaluna
It does.
Bronzong, Mabostif, Sarina. I love all those four on this comp. I'm not a huge fan of Quillfish and Swalot here. Like having three poison types is just weird, but it has strong pieces. I just think that the lack of immediacy and like you have a Disquake mode too, but like Electros is kind of weak and like I don't know. If and you kind of want that under Trick Room too, so you need to set Trick Room and then have your Trick Room setter get out somehow, and then Electros comes in, and
It's
at
just
that point
so
you've used
complicated.
two or three turns, like maybe probably 2 turns of Trick Room at that. It's just hard. I do think it's possible. I just think this team is gonna be hard to do that consistently.
That's all I gotta say. Next guy.
All right, so this is a two-way tie for seventh. I'll take this first one here first. So this is Sasori's team. Um, why is my Oh no. Can you say something?
What's up?
Okay. My my audio app that I use to record my computer's audio and put it through to OBS asked me for an update, and so I thought maybe it stopped recording. But we're good.
Man, I'd hate it if everything got redone, you know? If we had to redo everything. That'd be kind of wild.
Yeah, we're good.
Anywho,
So this is Sasori's team. Um, right off the bat, you notice Torkoal, Charizard, Sunflora, Sandy Shocks, Roaring Moon, a very very solid group of Sun abusers. And then you've got Sylveon is just generally a good special attacker. Likes to be next to Persian, clicking Icy Wind and Fake Tears. Just generally good bulky special attacker. Grumpig and Banette are like usable low tier Trick Room setters. I'm not sure if they both have to be here, but it's probably not the worst thing. Luminion being able to storm drain stuff away from Charizard and Torkoal, it's nice. I'm not sure it's super like necessary here, but it's nice to have the option, you know. And then Dragonair clicks extreme speed, and that's about it. So I think that the strength of this team is if it has Sun up, it's like the strongest team in the division, and it's like not even really close. But if the weather gets changed, it's like a lot weaker. And now, don't get me wrong, Sandy Shocks, Roaring Moon, they do not need Sun to be broken, right? Like they're good on their own. I've had both of those things on teams without Sun at various points throughout this gen, and I never needed Sun for them to be broken, right? Like they're just good. Well, Toxic and I had Roaring Moon together in MBC, and I think he can attest we did not need Sun for it to be broken.
yeah, we did not. Because we got rid
So
of it.
right, yeah, we actually had Sun and got rid of it, but regardless, I I do think that there's maybe too many Sun abusers here. Like Sun. Okay, I will say Charizard and Sunflora without Sun are kinda sort of trash. Like it's just I mean, Charizard's damage output is just like they're both like special attack stat 109 or 105 for Sunflora, pretty much the same, right? And like without solar power, they're not that strong. Um, and then obviously like Torkoal is your Sunsetter, but if weather gets changed on Torkoal, Eruption's not doing that much. Like you kind of need that sun boost, especially if they set rain, right? Which, granted, not every team can just prankster rain dancers, and I don't think Pelipper even got drafted in this div, so
Yeah, it didn't. I don't think it
so
did.
that helps, right? But in general, I would say my main concern is that it's a little bit more reliant on sun than I feel like it should it than is optimal. But again, like you have like even if sun's not up, you have Persian, Sandy Shocks, Roaring Moon, Sylveon. Like you're fine. I just think that that's a little um, concerning, and I think overall, your only physical attacker being Roaring Moon really sucks. Like literally Torkoal, Sylveon, Charizard, Lumineon, Sunflora, Grumpig, and Sandy Shocks, all special attackers. I didn't include Persian because it can kind of be either, but it's not strong. It's not super strong either way. And I didn't include Bennett because I think Bennett's physical attack is higher, but I mean 115 is fine. Yeah. But I think that's most of my thoughts on this team. What do you got, Toxic?
Uh, I think this team is very strong if it's in Sun.
Hmm.
Um, my problem is I don't think Sun is like super easy to maintain. I mean, obviously in draft, people are gonna take Rain Dance against this team. That's a given. But maybe this is just my own personal beef getting into rankings right now. But I have beef with Torkoal and like the trick room mode we got going here. I mean, it's fine. It's obviously really good. Torkoal is very powerful when you get it going. I've seen that thing destroy teams on its own. But I fear this team is gonna struggle because the trick rooms, because like not only do you not have after you to at least just like make that thing go first no matter what under the sun, but like your trick room setters aren't that good. Grumpig and Bayonet are serviceable, but when you're running a Torkoal team, you want like the best of the best of the best of the best. Because if Torkoal isn't under trick room, I promise you it's gonna let you down. It's let me down so many times
Yeah,
if it's not
especially
in trick
especially
room.
because they don't have the Lilligant after you setup, so you really do need Trick Room for Torkoal here, in my opinion as well.
Exactly. On top of that, your special output is amazing. I mean, Sandy Shock, Storkle, Sylveon, Charizard, Under the Sun. Good God, how are you gonna survive all of that? The Roaring Moon is carrying a lot of weight, being the primary. Well, not only being the primary one, it's gonna be the primary one on like every single team. But, like basically being the only one, unless you're bringing Baynet, which like if you're bringing Torkoal, you're probably bringing Baynet or Grumpig. But like Baynet being the only physical attacker besides Roaring Moon on this team is not that good. It Roaring Moon, while as good as it is, it's a fantastic Pokemon. I've drafted it twice. It carries games on its own, and Torkoal can do the exact same thing, but it's gonna struggle if it has to carry all the way to being a physical threat. It needs a second Mon there to back it up. Something under. Well, I mean, Sylveon's pretty good under Tailwind, granted, and so is Sandy Shock sometimes. Uh, Outside of that, I think this team is pretty strong though. Um, like I said, like both of us said at the beginning, if you get Sun Up, you are golden. You're gonna destroy teams. Like with Sun Up, this team probably has the best damage output in the division. I'm just gonna put that out there. But like without Sun Up, I think this team is gonna struggle. And even outside of Sun, there are just some general issues with the team and how it's like constructed. I'm concerned on if you don't have a better trick room setter, another good physical attacker, this team might fail. And that's my concern.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think we can move on to the other seventh place. You want to start with Frior's team, Toxic?
Yes, sir, Frior. This is Frior, one of our season 2 champs. He's got Urshifu Single Strike, Talonflame, Gardevoir, Jolteon, Berserker, Samurai, Ice Cube, Amoonguss, Lando, Mischievous, Zorua. So right off the bat, first thing I notice, this team is very, very, very top heavy with Urshifu, Amoonguss, Lander, Therian. Now that's an amazing top core, granted. That's very good. I mean, Urshifu Lando is insane damage output, intimidate pivoting, and intimidate with the Moongus is also amazing because
Is
that thing could
this
just
is this that top heavy? It's only two tier ones.
no, it's three, right?
Amoonguss is tier two.
Oh, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. This is the first time I've ever had a Moongus not in tier one. My brain just automatically registered it as tier one. Oh my god. Okay. I look. You can't blame me. Among Us has been tier one as long as I've been in VGC. Okay. Anyway, well, this team isn't super top heavy. This obviously are gonna be the ones that carry it. Talonflame is an amazing tailwind setter. Covert Cloak pretty much gives that thing honestly guaranteed tailwind. I'm gonna be real. You can't really stop tailwind when Talonflame's on the field, even when Gale Wings is broken sometimes. Um, and it's just pretty strong against paradoxes with Priority Brave Bird. Gardevoir is really good. It's got good utility options and it's really strong. Got good special bulk. Jolteon adds to the speed tiers here. Berserker's pretty good fake out. It's really good value in tier 4, and so is Samurott. Ice isn't a Pokemon. And Freeor has Misdreavus once again. This I'm not sure how many times they're gonna keep on making the same mistake here, guys. Don't let him get Misdreavus, because under Freeor's hands, Misdreavus can be a really good trick room setter, especially next to that Amoonguss redirecting for it and Berserker clicking fake out. But like the main issues I see on this team, again, are just the speed tiers. I mean, okay, this time, this time I'll give him a break. This time I'll give him a break because Talonflame is like really fast Tailwind. Well, it's priority Tailwind, literally. So like the speed tiers aren't as much as a problem as like the bottom teams were. But like outside of that, it's like not that good. I mean, not that good, but the speed tiers like on surface value just aren't that good. I mean, having a massive gap between 97 and 126, you kind of want to bridge that sometimes. And like outside of that, your trigger room setters are like serviceable, but they aren't amazing. I mean, Wake knows about Gardevoir. It's not that good of a trick room setter,
Yep.
guys. And Misdreavus might unironically be a better trick room setter than it.
Oh, it is.
As weird as that sounds.
100%.
Like, yeah, I really like this team. There are just a few issues with the speed tiers. Um, well, it's just the issue with the speed tiers, and also, honestly, a lack of special offense. If I'm being real, I mean, outside of Gardevoir, Jolteon is mid with special offense. So is Samra, as much as I hate to say it. And Misdreavus isn't really that present with the special attack either. So I mean, special output isn't great. You can go, Wick. I've said enough.
All right. So I like this team. I think I had it ranked. I think I had it ranked highest of everyone. I think I'm generally the highest on this team. So I just think that the top core of like Urshifu, Talonflame, Gardevoir, Jolteon, like that fast mode is powerful. Like that is a very solid fast mode. I don't mind the speed gap, the speed gap here between 97 and 126 as much as the other teams because he has priority tailwind and Talonflame is just so
Agreed.
consistent. Um, I do think that in general, um, the Amoonguss. We said this about a team in Gyarados, and those PRs will be up soon as well. I It's weird to say that the Amoonguss team is TR soft, but this team is kind of TR soft. Um,
I mean, yeah, that's kind of what a Mungus is there for, to bridge, to like make it less TR soft, to like punish people for doing that, right?
yes, but I don't think it's enough here because goggles and grass types exist, so it's just like you just bring something slow that has goggles and you just set trick room and like it's pretty free against this team. I mean he
Or
has
room service and kill it.
yeah, that too. Um I mean he has counterplay for that, right? He has a good imprison user in Gardevoir. Like, well, I'm personally not a fan of Frail Imprison. I used to be and I'm no longer. Um Miss Drevis should get Imprison Trick Room, and that's probably
It does.
your better bet there. Um, Zorua here is fine. Adds mind games. Probably won't come that often, but it's solid. But yeah, in general, like I'm just super convinced on the fast mode of like Urshifu, Talonflame, Gardevoir, Jolteon, Lando, with the option of like Samurott and Berserker can be run under Tailwind as well. The damage output is pretty well distributed between physical and special. Um, I'm personally a pretty big fan of this team. I do wish. I think the one thing I think the fast mode could use is maybe a faster fake out, but other than that, I really like it. I personally rated it a little bit higher than this. But you got anything else for this one?
Um, I will say at this point in like the power rankings,
Yeah.
I'm starting to run out of things to complain about. Um, this team is very solid, and I'm not gonna lie, most of those issues there, because Talonflame is there, are pretty much nitpicks. Uh, so I think from like 7B and like on, the teams just get really good. It's kind of hard to find flaws in them.
Hmm. Agreed. Well, I think we can move on then.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So I will
Oh,
start
this
with
team. I
Mario's
love
team.
this team.
So this team also had some pretty disparate rankings. Let me pull this up. I have my rankings written down here.
I
Mario
know I ranked
received
them number 6, I think.
Mario received ratings of okay, 8, 6 and 3. So not quite as crazy as Hippos. Um but okay. So I think that the strength from this team comes from its modes. This is a very, very unusual looking draft team, but when you really look at the pairings of Mons, it starts to make a little more sense. You have Sneasler Thundy, you can swagger things with Mirror Herb to proc Unburden. That is a very powerful setup. Sneasler with Unburden and +2 attack, that's a very scary thing. Um, you have Abomasnow Iron Bundle for Blizzard spam and Aurora Veil to help Iron Bundle not die. And then you have Iron Bundle and Bruxish to proc um, like Steam Engine shenanigans on Colossal, and you can use those for Palisand too, kind of, even though it's a little bit weaker. And then Gudra is a little bit like, what is Gudra doing here? But I think it just kind of answers a lot of common, like, when you think about those modes, Iron Bundle, Abomasnow, Thundy, Colossal, you think of, holy shit, I'm just going to click Rock Slide. And so I like Gudra here. I mean, Sneasler answers Rocks too, but I like that Gudra just kind of sits there and just says Rock Slide is not free into this team. So I like that a lot. Um, I do think that if you can get Trick Room going against this team, like that might be what a lot of people try to do because it's just really hard to know like what is he going to do on lead. And so if you can just set Trick Room, that might be where people gravitate toward because like if you think about this, right? Like Palisand, Colossal, Chansey, Carbink being your four slowest things, that's probably not super threatening to a lot of the teams in this division that have super strong, like cracked out Trick Room cores. Um, so I do think that might be something that this team is going to have to watch out for. But you have, I think, just the sheer amount of like spread damage and funky modes you have on lead can gives you some pretty solid Trick Room denial with fast fake out with Blizzard spam. Like there's some Trick Room setters that probably aren't gonna live like a Terra Ice Specs Blizzard from Bundle plus another Blizzard from Abomasnow. Like they're probably just gonna die. So that's nice. But yeah, those are my main thoughts. I think it may be bordering on two mode heavy. I think you that if the lead matchup doesn't work, I think the lead matchup will make or break this team. Like if Mario calls the lead right, it's probably over. If he calls the lead wrong, it's also probably over, but not in his favor. If that makes sense.
He will call the lead right.
What do you think, Toxic?
Um, so me and Wig both said this when we were initially looking at teams. When you first look at this team, you're like, wow, this team. You see the modes, but it's like kind of weird, you know. Like
I
these
thought this
mo, a
team
lot of
sucked
these,
when I first looked at it. Like I was like,
a
dude, this
lot
team
of
sucks.
a lot of these mons on surface value don't work together. But when you really look at it, yes they do, and I'm gonna tell you exactly why. Um, First of all, well, you've already said it. Iron Bundle is broken. Best speed control in the game. Priority Tailwind is there and
I
stuff.
was gonna
Never
say,
mind.
Tornadus would like to know your location.
Okay, Tornadoes might like to know my location, but if it didn't have Prankster, Bundle would hold the crown. Okay. Bundle holds the crown.
Murkrow,
Uh, no, Murkrow's trash. Anyway.
shut up.
Um, Booster Speed, Icy Wind, Freeze Dry, very strong Mon. And combined with the Bomb of Snow, I used to think Snow wasn't super broken. Bundle with Snow is extremely unbalanced. It's super nasty. Um but there's just a lot of hidden cores. Well, not super hidden, but like you really have to look into it. Okay, you're probably wondering what is Colossal doing here? You know, it's kind of random. Dazzling anti fake out Aqua Jet into Colossal, which is pretty good. You could like put Colossal next to Snow or switch it in on Snow, and because for some reason people just always slot in Heat Wave, which is fair, but Steam Engine next to Snow could really punish Heat Wave against this team. Snow punishes. I know you were saying Gudra covers Snow. I think Snow covers Gudra way better, cause that ground weakness is just completely nullified with Iron Bundle, Obama Snow there. I mean, do you really want to bring ground types against this team? I don't think so. Um, I mean, fighting. I'd say the biggest thing here is that the fighting weakness is absolutely massive, and outside of like Terra Flying Thunders, and like obviously like a Terra Fairy, I don't see a super good counter. But outside of that, I think this team is amazing. I mean, extremely fast fake out with Sneasler. Nothing to proc on Burden. At least nothing I can see.
Thunderous
I'm there.
swagger.
Yeah, there's that. Speed control against this. I mean, not speed control against. The speed control this team has is pretty much unstoppable. I mean, Prankster T Wave, Booster Icy Wind. I'm pretty sure Sneasler gets like low sweep or something. Whatever. Aurora Veil, which is basically light screen and reflect. Redirection. You always have to prep for Chansey. Don't let this thing fool you. It's a demon.
I'm
May not
actually
get.
I'm not a huge fan of Chansey on this comp. I think fighting moves
I
are
don't
already
think
fighting moves are already so free into this team that like it doesn't require extra prep to just like bring close combat.
Yeah, on this team, it's not the greatest, but you still gotta prep for it. Always prep for Chansey in mind.
As in bring close
Um,
combat.
no, as in like bring a good physical move that could even potentially hit other terrorists that it might tear into. That's what I mean. Anyway, um, Palisand is not a Pokemon. Uh, as weird as it sounds, Skiploom is more of a Pokemon than Palisand is. Um,
Real.
I get Does Carbon get in Prison Trick Room? It actually
I
might be really good in
I
Prison Trick Room.
don't think it gets imprisoned, but it does get trick room. You
It
might.
does not get in prison, but
Does
it does
Bruxish
get
get
Trick Room.
imprisoned?
Bruxish. I actually did not check this. I should have checked this earlier. No, does not get in prison. So no
Okay.
in prison trick room. But if I'm being completely real, like you said, Terra Ice Blizzard under Snow Anybody from Iron Bundle and like Taunt Thunders. Good luck, buddy.
Mario is definitely going to set Snow for Terra Ice Chansey at least once, right? We can agree on that.
I hate that you just said that to me.
All right.
I
Well,
That's enough.
all right, we can move on.
Yes.
Number 5B, or the other fifth place team, we have M Boss. This is a really interesting team. I think that in general, did we switch the order? We did.
Yeah, I was about to say,
We
wait a
did. You're
minute. I
starting this
think
one.
I'm supposed to
Go
be
ahead.
saying things. Anyway, um, so I'm pretty sure I rank this team like at least top five because I think this team is really insane. I mean, okay, it's got Iron Hands, definitely a top five Pokemon in the format. I think. Wait, do you agree that Iron Hands is top five? I'd argue it's
Um,
probably
it's definitely top 10.
absolutely top 10.
Might not be
Um,
top 5, but depending on who you ask.
it depends on who you ask. Anywho, uh, this team, the first thing I noticed right off the bat, the damage output on this team is really insane. I mean, Iron Hands is a monster in terms of damage output. Haven't seen that much from Basket Legion so far, but Adaptability Wave Crash with Last Respects is a very powerful combo. I've seen that combo tear up a team before. Um, Dragalge, don't let that 97 special attack fool you. Adaptability makes that thing a powerhouse. Tornadus is pretty powerful. If it gets set up, it could become pretty much as powerful as Iron Hands or something. And it's also got good spread. Arcanine is pretty strong. Haunch Crow is insanely strong. Sudowoodo Rockhead, Head Smash, I mean. So, look, right off the bat, really good damage output, right? But this team also has really solid, not solid, it has amazing speed control. I mean, Tornadus Therian, arguably one of the best tailwind setters in the entire format. Now, obviously, it's not the best. There's a Tornadus eye, staring me down. But like, it's definitely one of the best there is. And Rapska, I'll admit, isn't the greatest trick room setter in the world. But like, it's good enough, and it even has utility with like revival blessing. I mean, imagine Iron Hands is lit next to Rabska. You kill the Iron Hands. What? You kill the Iron Hands and think it's off the field. Nah, it's coming back to life, and it gets back to full HP with Drain Punch. That would be heartbreaking if I experienced that. Um, Iron Hands has insane bulk. Basculegion. Basculegion has really high HP, doesn't it?
Yep.
It's got it's got really high HP. Uh, so that's got good bulk. And Arcanine just enhances that bulk with Intimidate too. I mean, like I guess the main thing, if I had to say anything, is that there aren't really any like super right off the bat obvious scores. Which I know that sounds weird as like a nitpick, but like when you look at somebody like Mario's team, he has like a direct snow mode or something. Sand Sasso has sun. This team, it's kind of hard to figure out what this team wants to do, and honestly, it kind of works in its favor. I mean, it's just a really good balanced team with a lot of tools. No really clear modes or leads here. I mean, you can obviously think of a few leads, but there's not like a super obvious core you need to prep for. You need to prep for all of them and the potential for them all to just come together. Uh with that being said, Samuel Wakeman must speak, please.
All right. So, I think the strengths of this team come mostly from like how much bulk it has, like Iron Hands, Basculegion, um, Dragalge's nice because it's really specially bulky, so you kind of can switch in on some special hits for Iron Hands. Not that Iron Hands can't eat them, but it eats them worse than physical hits. Sandaconda's bulky. Cryogonal has great special bulk. Torn has good bulk. Arcanine is bulky with Intimidate. Like, your bulk in general is just really solid here. I don't think your Trick Room setter. I kind of wish it was. Maybe you had a better one than Rabska because its typing is absolutely terrible. But it is really nice to have Revival Blessing on this team. Being able to revive Basculegion or Iron Hands, I think especially, could be really broken. And Torn being able to set Tailwind for Iron Hands and Basculegion and Arcanine specifically sounds really, really strong. Tailwind Iron Hands is very good. Um, so I think that, Fake Out plus Tailwind and then just start clicking buttons with Iron Hands works. Or set Swords Dance, whatever. Like, you have options there. You also have, like, the Rain Dance option from Torn for Basculegion. Um, I do kind of wish there was a. I personally always hesitate when a team has no resists to a type, and this team has no dragon resists. There's only two weaknesses, and it's Dragalge and one is Fracture, which hardly even counts, right? But you do have good ways to hit dragons. Dragalge and Cryogonal work all right for that. But I do wish there was like a Steel or Fairy here. Um, Maybe that's just a personal preference, but I do always like to see, because that just means like if I have a what's an example Haxorus, I can just click Dragon Claw and I know without Terra this team doesn't can't resist it. So like granted, maybe that's not the best example, right? But think about something like a Hydreigon clicking Draco Meteor. Like, what wants to switch into a Draco Meteor here? Kind of nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Like, AV Iron Hands, Cryogonal maybe, but like that's kind of it, right? So I think that's something that this team will have to maybe use Terra to patch up. But that's kind of also only in matchups where there's strong dragon types, and generally dragon types were really expensive on this tier list, at least the really threatening ones. So you might not run into that as much as you might think. So maybe that won't end up being a problem. Probably depends on matchups. But yeah, I think we can move on if you're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. So number 4, we have our absent, our sadly absent, partially my fault. I'm not blaming him, but our absent admin Charles. So his team, I think, is in my opinion, almost like the mode type of team like Mario's, but upgraded. I think that the Indeedee with Driftblim or the Indeedee with Armourouge is so good. It is the male form, so you're not like doing probably as many Trick Room shenanigans. You could use it to set Trick Room, but just like Indeedee male Armourouge clicking Hyper Voice plus Expanding Force or Psychic plus Expanding Force, like it's hard to switch in on that if you don't have a good Dark type, right? And like even then, you have Iron Valiant right there, so it's like and Dark types don't do anything to Iron Val. So that really helps a lot in general, just to like counter the obvious counterplay to the Psy spam mode. And then Bisharp is just a good Mon that can just click Sucker Punch into things, and it's kind of, in my experience, like it's either really good or really bad in a matchup. And when it's good, man, is it good! Like Sucker Punch is so broken. Um, And then on top of that, you technically do have like your little mini sun mode like Shroodle and Leafeon, or Drifblim can set Sunny Day with Unburden and then uh, bring Leafeon in after it. It's like that works. Clawitzer is just a good value piece. Likes to have Tailwind. I wish it still got Terrain Pulse. It's so criminal that they took it away.
For real.
Um, but also, I'm an Arbeliever, so Arbeliever got a signature move, and we take those. Um, That being said, I
True.
and I just did all that talking without even talking about Mudsdale. I think that the Trick Room mode here, between setting Trick Room with Armourouge or Driftblim, and then being able to just bring in Mudsdale. I just think that adds like another layer. It's not like the strongest, most fleshed out Trick Room core in the league, and I'm not even gonna pretend like it is, but it's strong enough that you have to prep for it. Mudsdale is Mudsdale requires such specific prep. Like you have to devote resources to it because if you just bring physical attackers, you're probably losing to it. So that's really good. And then Spupa is a great like the low tiers here, Dedenne, Shrudel, Spupa, I think are very good. I think they all do something unique here. They all have a use case on a lot of weeks, I would imagine. But what do you think, Toxic?
I So I'll admit, I ranked this team the lowest. It's not super low. It's only like the middle, number 7. I think everything you said is about right. Uh, my issue with this team is that like outside of like, I just don't think this team is super outstanding. If I'm gonna be well, I might. I'm still on the fence on this team. That's why I put it in the middle. I'm on the fence on this team, and I'll forever be on the fence here because the fast mode is like fine. Indeedy, Driplim, and pretty much instant tailwind. You cannot stop that tailwind. Or at least it's extremely difficult to. Um, with Iron Valiant, potentially fast Armor Rouge. I mean, that's really strong. Um, and with that, with booster speed Iron Valiant, that could pretty much just like Iron Valiant is the most flexible, versatile mod in the game, probably, if I had to guess. Tornadus is probably a close second. But, like, Iron Valiant has it beat on move pool. Anyway, uh, I. Something about. This is probably a nitpick. I just don't think, outside of the fast mode, I don't think the trickery mode is super outstanding here. Armor Rouge, Clawitzer, Mudstell is serviceable. But Armor doesn't really like to be in Trick Room here, especially since you don't have Indeedee female on this team. Uh, Clawitzer isn't that slow, and Muchdale is really good, but I'm not sure how much you can carry this Trick Room mode here. So that's kind of a problem I have.
I mean, the other thing
Uh,
you could also think of Mudsdale as just like counter like anti Trick Room, like just bringing it against strong TR modes. I think that's a solid use case for it as well.
Maybe potentially it's I don't know. Now that you mention it, Indeedee's pretty good in Prison Trick Room, so that does exist. It's pretty good in Prison Trick Room. Um, Bisharp works really well on this team outside of the fact that it can't click Sucker Punch if it's under Psychic terrain. You gotta be careful. Charles, I know you're probably watching this. Please don't click Sucker Punch under Psychic terrain. It will probably happen anyway, but please don't do it. I don't know if I can watch this. Uh,
I don't think he'll
I
do it.
mean, this team is this team is just really solid all around. Really crazy damage output from both sides of the spectrum here. I'm just somewhat skeptical of the Trick Room mode, and now that I think about it, the fast mode is pretty outstanding. Anyway,
Yep.
let's keep on moving. That's kind of all I gotta say.
All right. You want to take number 3, Burst team?
Yeah. So I'll just put this out there. I ranked Burst number 2, I believe. I don't remember, but I ranked him number 2, and the reason why is because this is the bulkiest team in the entire. Dude, I don't want to say the entire league, but like, dang, dude, probably not the entire league, but like, definitely in this entire division. This is the bulkiest team in the entire division. Okay, so let's just go over it, right? Trick Room mode because Burst first picked Cresselia, which just automatically gives you probably the best Trick Room set in the entire format. Let's be real, right? And Burst covers this Trick Room mode with Hariyama Tinglu. Hariyama basically, it's not fast. It's not fast fake out at all, but it makes makes denying Trick Room against this team very difficult. if you don't prep correctly, like right off the bat, Hariyama Cresselia is very powerful. When you add Ting Lu to the equation, because first of all, Cresselia already has like a whopping what is it? Cresselia already has a whopping 120 HP stat and 120 special defense stat. So needless to say, you're not hitting this thing on on the special side, right? But you were adding Vessel of Ruin to this thing, and now you just now there's no way you can kill this thing on the special side at all. And on top of that, you just so happen to be able to click Earthquake next to it, Because why not? Why not have that? And Hariyama, this Trigger mode is a really good Psychic Dark and Fighting core here. And like Cresselia isn't super strong without Calm Mind setup, but Hariyama but Guts is insanely strong, and Tinglu already has like stuff to be strong. So right off the bat, that's really good. But then that's really good, insanely bulky, whatever, right? That's not that bad. That's manageable if you have the best amount of the format. But he just first just so happened to take Orthworm and Cerulege with that. Which like I know that's a really specific thing to say, but Orthworm with Tinglu, like Orthworm Tinglu core has to be the most annoying core. It's not the most annoying core on this team, but it has to be one of the most annoying cores on this team. Like, how do you break through this? Like, you spam Earthquake with Tinglu next to Orthworm, restore its HP, click Shed Tail, get Sarah Legend for free, and you can't kill anything anyway. Like, so it's gonna be even harder to break the sub with special attackers with next to Tinglu. I haven't even mentioned. Okay, I'll say this. I've been on a really high. I've been really high on this team. I've been talking about how amazing the bulk is, and I promise you, I'll get off this team eventually. But something I will say, the fast mode in this team doesn't really exist here. I mean, it obviously does exist with like Noivern, Rotom, a potential fast Sarah Ledge or something, right? But like, it's not that good. You have a massive gap between 123 and 91. Uh, but like, at least you have an amazing Tailwind setter, right? Uh, outside of like, outside of like a mid fast mode, this team, this team has to be the most annoying team in the entire division. I I would hate going against this team, and the fact that I have it on my schedule at all makes me upset. What's up, Wakeman? What do you gotta say?
So I believe I ranked this lowest. I believe you and Charles both had it as second, and I had it like fifth or sixth. I think fifth. So my main, so for the record, this team is very, very good. I might have underrated a little bit. I still think the teams I rated above it are a little bit better, but I don't think it's that. It's not undeserving of this third place, right? Just for the record, but the only reason I put it that low was I don't love teams that lack immediacy, and I think that the damage output here is honestly not insane. Um, like Tinglu is strong, Cellulege is strong, Hariyama is strong. Most of your strength comes from physical attackers, which isn't super ideal. I mean, Florges is good, like special attacker, and I just I don't really get the Noivern. I think that it could probably be something else. Also, I'm not sure if you know this burst, but you do have 10 points left, it looks like. Nope, that's because Tinglu is listed as 40 for some reason. Ignore me. You do not have 10 points. Don't take that seriously. Anyway, I'm not sure about the Noivern here. Being your only thing faster than 100 is a little sus to me, and the I don't know if like Cerilege and Florges are enough to like warrant having Noivern here. I almost wonder if you'd rather just have something else in that slot. But in general, every pick here is really, 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 really good value. Like everything in this in the tier that it's in is phenomenal. So that is, I think, the strongest part about this team. And man, the trick room mode is strong. I do wish if you're committing this hard to trick room, as I said with um which team? Which team was the really hard trick room team? Hippos.
Hippo.
Hippos, yeah. If you're committing this hard to Trick Room, which I don't think this team is committing as hard to Trick Room as he is, because you do have Noiver and Tailwind stuff. But I wish there was something slower than Tingling, maybe. I think a lot of teams are going to be able to underspeed this. That's kind of one of my. That's probably a nitpick, but I mean, yeah, as you said in general, like, I know I just said a lot of negatives, but those I mean, they are massively outweighed by the pros here, for the record. I was just explaining why I put it at number 5 instead of number 2, right? So the difference there between these top few teams, I don't think is that much. Um, your speed control is two of the best speed control mons in the format. Insane value across the whole like the whole roster. Insane value, and then just in general, like your damage output is good. It could probably be a little better, but I think it's super strong. Yeah. You got anything else toxic?
Uh, I hate this team not because it's bad, but because it's too good. I hate this team. I hate how bulky it is. I hate that. I'll agree with you. It doesn't have immediate damage output, but it's so bulky that it doesn't even need it. It'll just set up in your face and not care. Oh, I hate this team. I can't bear to look at it. Let's keep on moving.
All right. I'm going to take Toxic's team here. So we had a two-way tie for first. It's not rigged. I promise it's not rigged, guys.
It's
Um,
rigged.
shut, bro. You're blowing our cover. Um,
There's cheating and bossing say.
Toxic, you're getting kicked off the mod team after this. Anyway, so this is Toxic's team. He was tied for number 1. Um, this team, I personally put it at number 1. I think it's insanely strong. I think that the combination of Flutter Chiyu, needless to say, is insanely broken. Like, I don't think I need to say why that's strong. And then you have Squawkabilly, which is a very good value Tailwind setter. Um, Donphan is just cool, just as a ground type, and it's good value, and that's about it. I I think Rillaboom and Gyarados just complement the Flutter Chiyu a lot, provide you two very, very threatening physical attackers. One that can set up, one that can really just come out the gate with immediate damage. I mean, Gyarados' base 125 attack doesn't need to set up, but it certainly appreciates Dragon Dances, right? And then you have stuff like Trick Room or Nguru with Instruct and Telepathy next to EQ Donphan if you want. You could just instruct Heat Waves with Chiyu or D-Gleams with Fluttermane. I like that option. Um, the only like if the only real weakness I could really find with this team is I think that you if you're trying to run the fast mode, this team might potentially have to rely on booster speed Icy Wind Fluttermane quite a bit. Um, as opposed to like stronger variants, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because that is a very good set. But I'm nitpicking here because this team is insane, right? Um, I think that's kind of the only like weakness I see with it is just that the fast end speed control is kind of Fluttermane and Squawkabilly, and I don't know how often you're gonna bring Squawkabilly. But other than that, I think this team is absurd. You want to talk about your team, Toxic?
Garbage team.
Bro, please just talk about the team.
Okay. I played my week 1 game and it feels quote unquote fine. Okay. Um, I think I think I mean you already talked about Flutter Chiyu. Intimidate adds a lot to this team, especially with my plans on with Fluttermane. I have some pretty cool sets in. I have some pretty cool sets in mind with Fluttermane, with Intimidate Gyarados, Rillaboom adding terrain control, residual recovery, making Fluttermane even bulkier just by pretty much giving it leftovers. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
grassy
awesome.
terrain recovery is leftovers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So pretty
Uh,
much giving.
might be a
Wait,
different
what is it not?
percentage. It might be a different percentage. I forget. I'll look.
But regardless, it's residual recovery for a mon that's not very bulky. That's really nice. Uh, I don't really want to reveal all my super cool strats. I mean, a lot of them are pretty surface value. I will say a flaw on this team. Well, you kind of said it, but like the speed tiers are really bad. I mean, 135 and 100. I didn't want to do this, but it the draft board got to the point where I was kind of forced to do this if I wanted to like get a somewhat decent comp. I mean, I I didn't want to make my speed tiers this bad, but if if I have booster speed, icy wind, tailwind. I mean, not booster speed, icy wind, tailwind. Oh my god, I'm losing brain cells. Um, if I have booster speed, icy wind on Flutterman, I think I'll probably be fine. Uh, and if I got like tailwind with Squawkabilly, I'll be alright. I got double intimidate. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this team is. Uh, that's all.
Yeah, man. I think. I mean, I think you did a good job drafting it. I think. I think it's insane.
You.
Bro,
Let's move on.
toxic. Your team is broken, bro. Anyway, didn't you put yourself at number 3, didn't you, or number 2, number 3? So
Yet
why are
and
you
yet I'm
talking?
tied for number one.
For what?
Why am I tied for number one?
All right, just talk about my team here. The other tie for number 1. It's not rigged, guys.
It's there's no rigging and bossing. Say, please let me keep my mod job. Anyway, um, so right off the bat, best tailwind in the format. Honestly, just best speed control in the format. Right here, first pick. Tornadoes fell to you. This is probably like the third time I've seen you draft Tornadoes, right?
Second.
Second time. So this guy Wickman has some experience with it. Very versatile mon, right off the bat, right? Well, not only does he have Tornadoes, but he has extremely powerful. I mean, the damage output on this team is really insane overall. I mean, Cinderace is pretty strong. It's not the same Gen 8 version that it used to be. It kind of fell off a little bit, but it's still pretty powerful for a tier 2 slot. I mean, the amount of value you get out of Cinderace tier 2 is really good, specifically on this team. Great Tusk. I didn't think it was mid, but I think it was fine, serviceable. This mon is broken. It's so strong. And you along with Great Tusk, you also have Rotom Wash to cover just it's like a general good water type, bulky water, and disc quick with Great Tusk. I hope for your sake you never ever ever miss a hydro pump. Because you probably
Me
will
too.
drop it. On top of that, on top of pretty much an unstoppable fast mode with those modes, I mean, Great Tusk can be fast or slow, and so can Rotom. Anyway, on top of a really good fast mode, you have an amazing slow mode with Arbolifa Slow King. I mean, Arbolifa is extremely powerful, and it just has all the right coverage to hit every type. It's super effective against it. Please let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it can hit every type except probably Bug and Flying. They hit it super effectively for super effective. That was probably a mouthful. Anyway, Slowking is a really good Trick Room setter, even though it doesn't have Oblivious like the Cantonian version. It's pretty bulky, and it's also just stronger. And it's still got chilly reception, which is nice. And you have Avila Kisui from Tier 5 and Glaceon to finish off your Trick Room mode. Glaceon's Snow Cloak under chilly reception Blizzard spam. I'm not happy about this. And on top of that, you cheerlead reception into Avalog. Avalog Kisui under Snow. That is probably the most. I don't want to call it the most physically bulky one in the game, but like it should be pretty close in terms of like sheer physical defense, right? Like under
Hmm.
Snow, Avalok Hisui,
Probably, yeah.
Tinka Tough is a probably one of the best tier fives. Mode
It's
breaker
tier 4.
utility. Oh, it's tier four. Oh, my bad. Mode breaker fake out is really strong. Uh, and it fills out the fairy type and steel type role in this team. Even though Cinderace is the best steel type in the game, let's be real.
True.
Anyway, anyway, um, Cacturn exists, and it's pretty good water absorb switching, I guess. It's a fine mon. It doesn't really do anything. Uh, anyway, yeah. I mean, I guess if I had to think of any flaws for this team, uh, your fake out mon could be better, but it also is mode breaker fake out, so I don't really care. I mean, I prefer it to be faster, but like, there's not much that could be done about that since there's not that much really good fake out left. And I think Moldbreaker fake out just pretty much makes up for like any slow fake out, probably. Oh, I didn't even mention the Haunter. That adds to fast mode with good utility options. Anyway, it's your turn, Wake. I'm losing brain cells.
All right. I mean, yeah. I mean, this is my team. I'm super happy with how it turned out. It's a lot of comfort picks for me. I've drafted Torn twice, Cinderace like 5 or 6 times, Arboliva 3 times, Great Tusk 3 times, Rotom Wash before Haunter like 3 or 4 times. I, it's a lot of comfort picks, right? And so I'm super happy with it. I think that the fast mode is one of the best in the league. Torn, Great Tusk, Rotom, Cinderace is just insane. I have a couple of ways to set up Glaceon Blizzard spam with Slowking, Chilly Reception, or Torn, just clicking Snowscape. Um, I love that Torn got all the weather moves now. It's so awesome. Um,
I am not happy about this.
and it also sets Sunny Day and Tailwind for Great Tusk. So that is arguably the maybe the best partner for Great Tusk right now, in my opinion. I think you could make arguments for a couple other things like Kilowattrel or Thunderous, but I think Torn is probably up there. I think I got good value. I think that like Avalug is one of the best tier fives. I think Cacturn, honestly, I was just like, you know what? I don't have a dark type, and it's a tier 5 that does something, so I will take it. It's obviously worse than Arboliva as a grass type. It's obviously worse than Cinderace at clicking Sucker Punch. But I don't feel like any of my slots are wasted. Like, even if Avalug and Cacturn don't come to a whole lot of matches, I think that, I think they do their own thing here, so I think it's worth having them. Same with Haunter. Um, But yeah, I mean, again, I think the trickery mode is solid, and the speed tiers are good. And yeah, I mean, it's my team. I could talk about it forever, But you got anything else, Toxic?
I got none else, brother.
All right. Well, that is it for us. Thanks for watching, everybody. I know this. How long did this end up being? Hour and 40 minutes. A little bit longer than Gyarados was. I think Gyarados clocked in around an hour. Um, but yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I'm super excited for this season as always. Toxic,
So am I.
thanks for being on the video. And Charles,
No problem.
Charles, thanks for submitting your rankings. Charles was gonna be here, but I had a family thing come up and we had to reschedule and he couldn't make it. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you in your matches.